The Rondo on page 40 by Mozart. This is a 2-page sight reading that we're going to do today. Go ahead through all of the analysis of this piece. Be very careful about your left-hand chordal analysis. And when you come back, I'll just talk briefly about a couple things. We're back, and let's look at that first phrase, the first 4 measures, 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice it's a very traditional moving from tonic to your dominant chord, ending on a half cadence. And then we look at the next 4 measures, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we cadence on the tonic. So you've got your antecedent, your questioning phrase, and your consequent, your answering phrase. Moving on to the next 4-bar phrase, we look and we say, left hand does change from a triad accompaniment to a full octave left hand accompaniment, but it's still the same chord. And you're going to see that throughout all of the next 2 phrases. How about that right hand? Did you notice that it was similar? In fact, is it exactly the same as the first 2 phrases? Almost. Let's look at the third phrase. Right hand seems to be the same. Moving on to the 4th phrase, which starts at the bottom of the page, but then finishes over on the 2nd page. So at the bottom, notice the melody does change a bit from our 2nd phrase. Got a few more 16th notes, but generally the outline is quite similar. Okay, so there we've finished the A section. As a rondo, you know that we've got to have some type of contrasting B, and then the A returns. So let's move over to the 2nd page, and we see the B section begins on the 2nd measure, which is measure 17 on page 41. We start with our dominant 7th this time instead of the tonic, and then we go to tonic, and then dominant, and then tonic, and end up on the dominant. Asking the question, half cadence for a 4-bar phrase, and then moving on to the next measure, measure 21, really looks like the beginning. So that was a very short B section, just 4 measures. But the chord progression in left hand quite different, and the right hand has a lot more going on with some scale passages and then a triadic passage right here at the end of this B section. Okay, so now we're moving on to measure 21. 21, 22, 23, and 24 looks very similar to our A section on page 40. That was our 2nd tune. And then we look at 25 and we say, this looks just like measure 2 up at the top of page 41. So just like the beginning of the B section. 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, again ends on that dominant chord and resolves on measure 29 to the tonic. And then we have that same A section, 1, 2, 3, 4, with just 2 extra bars for a nice little coda right here. So Mozart has very brief B sections, but if you focus on that B section a little bit more before you begin your sight playing, I think you'll be much more successful. Notice also what you'll want to do is, in the left hand, compare how a triad feels, that left hand accompaniment with the triad versus the full octave. Just stretch your hand open, close it so that you start to feel comfortable with that. Notice where the dominant comes in. You've got 3 bars right at the beginning of tonic, and then the 4th bar has the dominant. Starting in the 2nd phrase, you have 2.5 bars of tonic, and then 1 quick beat in 6/8, a dotted quarter, 3/8 notes of the dominant, and then you're right back into the tonic. So anticipate how quickly that dominant will occur.